Welcome to Rauta, welcome to Underground 3, I'm Jerry, and this time once again we go through 3 different Underground releases of metal of various styles, and according to my opinion, of course, rating them worst to best. This one is tricky because I have 2 death metal ones and one black metal one, of course not really comparable, except in terms of quality how it works for me. So feel free to disagree obviously, and let's go. First we'll go with this band called Uttertomb. This is from Chile, Nebulas of Self-Desecration. If I were to ask about the cover or the name, I would say yes, this has to be some kind of a black metal thing, but no, really, this is a death metal band that has been here for quite some time, and through these years the band has been kind of like practicing, if you will, with the smaller releases before going into the full-length thing. Released by Pulverised Records. It is indeed a nicely looking CD, jewel case it is, and I gotta say I really like the cover image. It's very dark, very violent, very fitting for the music. This is old school death metal, and it's very dark and heavy, which is, I guess, comes with territory when we're talking about old school death metal. Now, if you need some name dropping, what to think of it, I would say roughly into the same subgenre as bands like Incantation and Immolation. So now you know what is to expect. That means it's also somewhat complex when it comes to riffs. It's kind of a caveman-like, very cavernous in feeling, and as such it's not very memorable, or one of those death metal ones with, hit songs, be it Hammer Smash Face or whatever, not really melodic or trashy even less so with, Black Death kind of approach. Now, this being said, this means that this is very much a core audience thing. That it is, if you don't like cavernous old school death metal to begin with, I don't know if Uttertomb has anything really to offer you. The sound is very heavy, but it's also kind of dirty and rusty. And for some people, it's like the definition of old school death metal. You're not supposed to sound powerful, clean and all, but more like going into the moist caverns and dungeons where everything is like reeking of death and decay. Now, the good side is, if you're into that kind of stuff, you're gonna probably like it quite a lot. But like I said, this is very much the same kind of a thing all over the place. If you have heard 1 or 2 songs, you know what to expect from the rest. And unfortunately for me, it's not really doing big impact. Very listenable, but unfortunately quite forgettable. Then we go to Finland with a black metal band called Virtaus. You would roughly translate it as to a flow. And this is Pimeyden, the bearer of the darkness. And I was about to say dead. This is a one-man project, now released on Wolfspell Records, originally released on digital format only. And this style is very fitting for Wolfspell, which has released a lot of Finnish black metal bands over the years of various styles. Now this is a little bit deep in the pocket or sleeve, and here it is, a one-man project, and this guy is known for various projects in the past, various bands, including but not limited to bands like Battle Lord, but also Elder Thrones and Dark Elite. He's not the first time here doing music or even black metal. Because of this solo project nature, there's a couple of things which probably should have been addressed over the making of this album, but overall this is on the good side of things. Somewhat melodic, often kind of dramatic, especially when it comes to the vocals. This is a little bit all over the place. Running for 55 minutes, it's like too much. And those songs lasting average on like 7 minutes, it means like these songs are not exactly as focused as they could be. It seems sometimes that these songs are just going on way too long, that is past their expiration date. I would say if only the songs had been cut around 4 or 5 minutes maybe, they would have stronger impact. Now it's more like, let's keep it going, still one more time. You want it, audience, yes. And you're like, okay, but it's not working that well. Another note is, worth mentioning, is that a lot of those repetitions comes from rather dull, boring filler riffs, as opposed to the better riffs which seem to be more like drowned in the mediocrity. Now, don't get me wrong, this is still on the better side of things because there are lots of really good riffs which I hope would dominate the overall album a little bit more. Now, when it comes to vocals, they're overly dramatic. They're sometimes even like too much focused on raw screaming and shrieking rather than, singing with the raspier or shriekier style. Mind you, there's nothing wrong with going very, very raw, but when the music is sometimes very mid-tempo, very much in the atmospheric, almost like silent way of doing black metal, going very, very deep into the world of atmospheric parts, then this contrast between the overly raw black metal shrieking and being mixed on top of things means that the rest of the song is pretty much buried on the background. And I can say, frankly speaking, I don't like it. The thing here is, these vocals are very raw, and I kind of like it, but when it's too much that, with effects, it gets like, yeah, maybe a little less could have been the thing. Sometimes these vocals seem it's like a gimmick that's get repeated and repeated ad nauseum. And frankly said, I would have wished that it was like more like one or two songs where you have those effects vocals repeatedly all over the place rather than dominating the whole album. But these are small, minor flaws compared to the rest of the stuff. If only the songs were more focused, a little bit shorter, and the vocals were more like traditional black metal vocals, I think this album could have been even better. And less length probably, because 55 minutes just seems to overextend its stay. But pretty nice overall, worth checking out. Then the best of the pile comes from United States, and this was, if I got understood it properly, originally a demo. Purulency is the name of the band, and this is now MCD, Transcendent Unveiling of Dimensions. Sounds kind of like a goofy title in a way, because I mean it's kind of like a, are you going philosophical? Are you going deep into the world of science? But if I'm looking at the cover here, I'm saying, yeah, this is old school death metal. It's getting dirty and, rusty. Much like the previous bands I featured here, the Uttertomb ones. But this is more focused in good riffs and all that stuff. Sometimes it even reminds me of Ball Thrower's Realm of Chaos album. So you get that really, really old 1980s, 1990s, early transition phase of thing with all the ideas and stuff like that. So it gets very, very kind of rustic in a way. It's like an almost like antithesis to overly produced death metal albums of today, but rather focuses of simplistic riffs, brutality, heaviness, and darkness. Unfortunately, this pales in comparison to Ball Thrower in a couple of senses. First of all, the songs are not that hit songs. I mean, get it. Ball Thrower's Realm of Chaos was already like, okay, this is very, very brutal, it's very heavy, it's very dark. Songs like World Eater. This doesn't have that. Then again, this is just a demo now on CD, so we can give it a little bit of slack. But I think this band shows quite a bit of promise. If only they had a little bit more variation and even more like those hit riffs, if you know what I mean, this could really be some kind of a new school of old school from United States of America. So for fans of blood and blood incantations and the like might be up for it, or also incantation emulation, what have you. So darker, not that complex death metal with a twist of just 1980s vibe, and there you go. In my opinion, the best of the pile, but hardly better than the Virtaus one which I showed. Then again, two different genres, so take it as you will. Now, if you go to check out the bands in question, links are in the description box, so click and listen and enjoy.